top mistakes that GCSE Maths students make. Number one is misreading the question. So the question might say, write your answer as a fraction in its simplest form. And your answer might be something like 0.25. What a lot of students do is they'll just leave it like that. They'll leave it as a decimal. And of course, you need to convert it into a fraction. So a very important thing here is to make sure you're looking at the keywords and you're looking at the command words in the question. Take some time out to highlight them, whether you're using a highlighter, you're underlining them, or you're circling them. So just make sure you're focusing on those keywords. So things like simplify, exact value, estimate, express as a fraction, express as a standard form, and so on and so forth. And that way, when you come to recording your answer, putting down your answer, you know that you've put it in the way that the examiner has asked in the question. So when you're practicing past papers, highlight or underline these command words before attempting the questions. And just pause for about 5 seconds after reading the question and let that specific keyword or command word sink in. Okay, so mistake number 2 is one of the most common GCSE Maths mistakes and Maths in Science mistake that students make. And you probably guessed it, is not showing the full working out. So for example, in a 3 or 4 mark question, some students will just simply jump straight to the answer and just put the answer. But of course, if your answer is incorrect, then you're not going to pick up any marks. Whereas if you actually show your full working out, even if your answer is incorrect, but the examiner can see that you know the process, you know the method, you know what it's about, then you'll still have some credit allocated to you. So the fix there is simply always show step by step you're working, even if it's obvious to you, because it's so easy to make a mistake. It's so easy to put the wrong number in the calculator. It's just so easy to make a mistake under that exam pressure. So a tip for you is to practice writing the full working for even a 1 mark question, right? Just so that you're training your brain to write out the full working. All right, on to mistake number 3 that GCSE Maths students will make is sign errors. So for example, you might be expanding -3, I'll put this on the screen, -3 in bracket x minus 5. Now, there are many mistakes that students make here, but the most obvious one is forgetting the minus and minus makes a plus. And so the answer becomes -3x minus 15 instead of -3x plus 15. So what you need to do to work that out is you need to go -3 times x plus, in bracket, -3 times -5, and that would give you -3x plus 15. So that's the correct method. So always check your negatives when multiplying or subtracting. So that is the main fix. And the key is also to always remember that minus and minus makes a plus. All right, on to mistake number 4 is canceling incorrectly in fractions. So let's say you have you're adding fractions. You have a fraction of 3x plus 6 divided by x plus 6. And you need to simplify that. It's so, a lot of students just simply cancel out the 6 and they cancel out the x and they are left with 3. It's so easy to do that. But in a fraction like this where you are adding, you need to factorize first. So the fix is number 1, factorize first. 2, make sure there's a common factor in each term. And then lastly, you cancel. So how do we work this question out? What do we do? Well, we factorize the numerator. So we then would have 3 brackets x plus 6. I'm going to put this on the screen as well. 3 bracket x plus 2 over x plus 6. So you can see nothing cancels there, right? Then you can see that you can't simplify it any further because x plus 2 and x plus 6 are quite different. So your final answer will be 3 bracket x plus 2 over x plus 6. So a tip is that if you are about to cancel, make sure you factorize first, right? Really, really important for grade 9 algebra. All right, on to mistake number 5, that is misusing formulas. So um, this one as well, this one is really, really key for grade 9 as well. So you might be using the area of a triangle A equals half AB sine C in the wrong triangle type. Okay, so what does this particular formula mean? Well, it means A and B are two sides of the triangle and C is the angle between those two sides. So the formula only works when the angle is sandwiched between the two sides being multiplied. So what is the fix? You need to learn and memorize when to use which formula, not just the formula itself. So don't just learn the formula itself, but when should I be using that formula? And where possible, draw a diagram. So even if the diagram is not given, draw a diagram because it would help you to pick up the correct method. So always check, is the angle I'm multiplying between the two sides? If yes, use the formula. If no, you might need to use a different formula. All right, mistake number 6 of GCSE Maths common mistakes is rounding too early or rounding incorrectly. So what some students do is they round quite early on. So they plug some numbers into the calculator and they get this long number and they round it very early on. But what you should do is use the same number that you have in your calculator up until the end and only round at the final answer. Unless for some reason the question tells you otherwise, but you only round at the end. Otherwise, you start missing numbers and you end up being off by a few numbers and that could cost you some marks. Mistake number 7 is losing track of units. So you might be asked to calculate an area in meters squared and you write your answer in centimeters squared, or you even forget units altogether. So a very good tip here is to convert your units before calculating, not after. So if it asks you to do your area in meters squared, then actually convert to meters squared at the start, not after. And then write down the units in every line of your working to keep track of that, okay? Also, a very good tip for this and a good fix for this is do a lot of practice calculation that involve unit conversions. So centimeter to meters, hours to minutes, and so on and so forth. And you just start to get that practice and know what to do when you have exams. Okay, and I'm going to throw in a bonus mistake, and that is a simple, that's a easy one that we shouldn't do, but a lot of us do that under sort of exam pressure, and that is simply just not checking our final answers. So for instance, you might finish a quadratic solution and you write one root instead of both. So what you need to do is get into the habit of doing a quick 30-second check before move on. So when you are, once you've finished your work, take a quick 30-second, check it before moving on. And even when you've finished your entire paper, always go back if you have the time. Always go back and take that time and check. You'll be surprised. I used to do this when I was at school. You'll be surprised how you're like, oh, I missed that, right? You'll be really surprised to find out that, oh, you've missed this, or you said that you've put the correct, incorrect calculation and so on and so forth. So ask yourself, and one of the fantastic things about maths is that you can actually ask yourself, does this make sense, right? So if my answer is supposed to be an average of numbers between 3 and 7 and I got 27 rather than something like 4, does that make sense? You know, so that's a really, really important thing to do. Okay, so that's the 7 most common mistakes that GCSE Maths students make. Now that you know how to avoid the most common mistakes, the next step is to know which topics to actually focus on by year 11. So check out the video that's coming on the screen now. Revise this 3 GCSE Maths topic for top grade and use that to learn what to revise to get ahead fast. Okay, I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.